Okay. Now, you talked about the powerhouses. I know you want to jump a little bit to the teams that are not exactly in the contending ways right now. What are you seeing right now with these uncontending teams?
Yeah, so in terms of getting that number one spot in the draft, which it won't be as sought out for as it was last season with Zion Williamson for sure going to be the top spot. Everyone was trying to get to that number one pick in the draft. We could see LaMelo in there. The talks of him being top
Maybe.
three. Some people are saying he's definitely top one talent. Number one pick talent. But as far as the teams go, definitely have the Hornets in there. The Hornets just lost Kemba Walker, didn't replace him with really anyone. They gave Terry Rozier a fat contract, so they basically replacing Kemba with Terry Rozier. Not a huge, obviously like a major downgrade, but not a huge replacement. Definitely not going to fulfill those shoes of Kemba Walker. Other than the Hornets, the Cavs are also, I think they're going to really struggle. Colin Sexton did look a lot better as the season progressed last year in his rookie season, but I don't see him leading the team to even near 500 season. And then, of course, you got the stinking Knicks. Knicks have made some weird moves, getting 4 power forwards in free agency. Julius Randle, one of them. Julius Randle's a heck of a player.
Very.
And they got R.J. Barrett as well, but I just don't see the Knicks as even being a middle team, to be honest. When you look at both conferences, they have really good talent at the top, and then those sleepers in like the 7th, 8th, 9th spots. You have teams like Orlando, Detroit. Miami might sneak up towards more so the 6 or something. But other than that, I don't see the Knicks getting into a playoff spot, or maybe even that 9th spot. I'd probably put them down towards the bottom of the Eastern Conference as well.
So, I'm going to put you up to the test, Austin. Let's say the season ends tomorrow. Who do you have as your top 5 teams in order? You could start with 5. Who's in the 5th spot? 4, 3, 2, 1.
So I'm gonna definitely go number 5. I'm gonna have to put the Philadelphia 76ers.
Whoa.
Yeah. So obviously Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. I'll tell you why I put him in the 5th spot. The way I'll do that is by explaining my number 4 pick. Number 4 pick, I'm going to put the Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets have a big question mark in terms of James Harden and Russell Westbrook. They played before in OKC, and they played well together. Obviously, they're just really young, and the reason it's a question mark is because these are 2 guys that have developed over their career to be 2 very assertive offensive players, and what comes with that is them both individually needing the ball. But I think if they mesh together very well, which I do think they're going to do, that is a deadly duo. And in my eyes, James Harden, who is one of the most dominant offensive scorers we've seen in a long time, I'm even going to put him up there in this era past the 2000s. In my eyes, in terms of offensive dominance and being able to score the ball, he's right up there with Kobe. Like, this dude is deadly on the offensive side of the ball. He's unstoppable when you get him when he gets off the dribble, step back, literally impossible to guard. We've seen it year in and year out. These past 3 seasons, his step back is just one of the most unguardable shots in a long time. You look at unguardable moves, the Kareem skyhook. People are putting this James Harden step back in terms of unguardable moves. It's definitely up there because you just can't stop it. You look at the game where he had against the Warriors last year, he was double-teamed by Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson from 30 feet away, and he put it up and banked it in for the win. Like, this dude is one of the coldest players in the league, and pair him up with a guy like Russell Westbrook, who can just slash for days. He can get to the rim, one of the most dominant finishers in the league right now. He has to work on his outside shot, of course, which is his main weakness, Russell Westbrook, but nonetheless, he's a playmaker, just like James Harden is as well. So they're going to be a deadly duo. I think they're going to work it out together. So that's my number 4 spot, and the reason they get the 4 over the 5 is because James Harden and Russell Westbrook, to me, are more deadly than Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, who It's because James Harden can shoot, and Joel Embiid's a better shooter than Ben Simmons, but it's not as consistent as a guy like James Harden would be. So since Russell Westbrook's a better shooter than Ben Simmons, and James Harden's a better shooter than Joel Embiid, for in my eyes, I just have a number 4. Number 3, I'm gonna go Milwaukee.
I kind of predicted that one.
Yeah.
I was already thinking about it.
So obviously you got Giannis, guys like Chris Middleton. They lost Malcolm Brogdon, Rookie of the Year 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Time flies. I'm not even sure. It might have been 3 years ago, but that was a big piece that they lost. But Giannis is still Giannis. Middleton is an all-star player, of course. So they're going to be one of the probably the best team in the East in my eyes. And number 2.
I know where you're going. Be careful what you say right now.
Your boy's going to Clippers. Clippers are number 2 for sure.
Wow.
So I'm going to get a lot of hate for that because people look on the defensive side and say, all right, well, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, are one of the most dominant offensive and defensive combinations in the whole league, of course. Paul George coming off of what was an MVP caliber season. He balled out. He could have been Defensive Player of the Year last year. In my eyes, he was Defensive Player of the Year. He didn't get it. He lost it to Rudy Gobert. And he balled out on the offensive end as well for OKC. Same with Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, drove the Raptors to a championship. But then as you go down, to me, top to bottom, the Lakers are a better team than the Clippers top to very bottom. If you look at the duo aspect, I'm putting LeBron and AD over Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And even though defensively, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard may be more lockdown defenders, when the time comes, LeBron James can turn it on the defensive end. Anthony Davis is always in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. He never really can get up there like someone like Rudy Gobert because Rudy Gobert is a defensive specialist. But because Anthony Davis, obviously, is one of the most dominant defensive players as well, he doesn't get enough credit for that, first of all. And then his offense, he's just dominant offensively. If you watch any of the preseason games, this dude just balls out and dominates. When he gets in the post with you, he'll just throw a little shimmy and then he'll go around you like nothing. That with LeBron James, who I think is still the best player in the league, when he puts all his determination into the game and puts all his blood, sweat, and tears into it, he's definitely the best player in the game. He's up there with Kevin Durant in my eyes. And defensively, when the time comes, like a playoff game, as we've seen against the Warriors, LeBron James knows how to play defense. Having that game-winning block, game-saving block against the Warriors in the finals a few years ago. And the Lakers are top to bottom, and unfortunately for the Lakers, they lost Boogie Cousins, which was a huge loss.
That's big time.
That was really the X factor for the Lakers. Having a guy like DeMarcus Cousins on the team. If you look at these preseason games, you have JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard. There's a pretty solid center core you got right there. And then just to think, you also at one point, a few months ago, had DeMarcus Cousins. That's pretty ridiculous, and it's unfortunate for a guy like him to get injured as much as he does, because he came back and he had that first season from what was the Achilles injury, and you need that first season to kind of get your feeling back of how to play this game, how aggressive you're going to be, and then the second season is just like, okay, what you got? And then right when the first season was ending, he had that quad injury. It was just all bad. So that was actually a big loss for the Lakers. But they got guys like Caldwell Pope, who's a good spot up shooter. They added Danny Green, brought back Rondo, who's a good playmaker. He can run the point guard spot very well.
Dudley's a big giant bench
Dudley's
player
one of those
too.
guys that can get under the skin of star players. He's kind of like Patrick Beverley for the Clippers. Patrick Beverley, of course, is a great defensive player, but he gets under the skin of any superstar of the opposing team. And Jared Dudley, like that, we saw in the playoffs, he was clashed with guys like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons in that in the second round, or the first round it was, against the 76ers. So he's one of those guys that antagonize the opposing team star players, and those are some X factors that you need heading into playoff games when things are getting really competitive and the talent level is really close. Guys like that'll step up and really change the momentum of the game, not because of necessarily what they will do, in terms of where the stats fall. He may not put up numbers like some guys do, but he'll definitely have an effect on the game because of the physicality and aggressiveness he brings, which is something that's going to be important going to the playoffs.
Well, there you go, guys. That's Austin Duarte's top 5 teams in the NBA. But we're going to go ahead and step aside for a break here in Sideline Sports Podcast. But when we come back, we will have a couple predictions, a couple of standings, and we'll talk about some of that West Coast matchup. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Munoz, and I play for the Guatemala women's national team, and you're here watching Sideline Sports Podcast.
Welcome back to Sideline Sports Podcast, presented by Lean Mean Meals. And that little commercial you guys just saw is for what's to come in the very next episode of Sideline Sports Podcast. This is why you guys need to subscribe, give the thumbs up to every episode of Sideline Sports Podcast, because you just don't even know who can end up in this show. So make sure you give the subscription button. The more subscribers we can get some big time athletes, coaches, whoever it may be. So we have something, a very big surprise coming for you guys for the big number 10 episode for Sideline Sports Podcast. But without further ado, Austin Duarte joining us on the show. And let's talk about that Western Conference. We have a lot to talk about right now. We have just so many teams that can just be dominant. We have the Nuggets, the Jazz, Lakers, Clippers, the Spurs. Always a question mark on this team. You know, where do the Warriors end up? But you know, I think that's a good question to start off with. Where do the Warriors get mixed up? Where do they end up?
Yeah, so we just started out by talking about where the Raptors could possibly end up. You know. And then you look at who they played in the finals. Both teams, the Raptors and the Warriors, have both, the big part of their rosters have dramatically changed. The Raptors lost Kawhi Leonard, and now the Warriors lost Kevin Durant.
Pieces.
So yeah, these are really big pieces that both teams lost. You look at the Warriors; they have one of the most interesting duos in the league with D'Angelo Russell and Steph Curry. And then, of course, you have Klay Thompson, who's injured. He won't be back until probably near playoffs, probably like a few weeks, maybe a month before playoffs start. But in terms of where they might fall in the Western Conference is so competitive. You got teams, of course, the Lakers, the Clippers. You got teams like the Nuggets, who will rack up regular season wins like crazy. The Spurs are always in there. So, the Rockets just added, Russell Westbrook. So where do the Warriors fall? In my eyes, I could see them actually pulling off some surprises. I'm never going to doubt the Warriors. This is a 73-win team with just Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry. So if you have a guy like D'Angelo Russell who could step up, he may not be the defensive presence that Klay Thompson is. But if he can fulfill the role of being a spot-up shooter like Klay Thompson was, he's no Klay Thompson when it comes in terms of shooting, but D'Angelo Russell can definitely ball out and he can shoot, which is exactly what the Warriors' offense is about shooting. So obviously they're not going to be the team they were with Kevin Durant, and not going to go on some 24-0 to start a season like they did a few seasons ago in that 73-9 win season, but I could see them getting as high as the 5 seed if they have a really good season. I don't think they're going to be in the top 4 of what, in my eyes, would be the Clippers. No particular order: the Clippers, the Lakers, the Rockets, and then a team like the Nuggets or the Jazz. I don't see them being better than, first of all, any of those 3 teams of the Rockets, Lakers, Clippers. And then, at best, I see them at 5. I don't see them snagging the 4 spot. And can they miss the playoffs? Not in my eyes. I'm not going to say that the Warriors are going to miss the playoffs entirely. When you have a star guy like Steph Curry, who's a 2-time MVP, one of the best shooters of all time we've ever seen, and a guy like D'Angelo Russell, which is a great addition. It's not like they threw their season away. Oh, let's just add D'Angelo. No, D'Angelo was a great pickup. This dude can ball out, like I said, as we saw he did last year with the Nets. So, and then of course they got Draymond Green still. Draymond Green, he's the X factor in a lot of their games. That physicality he brings on both ends of the floor, the rebounding he does. The rebounds he collects for the teams. This is still a really solid team, so expect them to fall anywhere between 5 and 7, I'd say. I don't think they'd fall as low as 8. I put him in a 5 to 7 range.
One team that we failed to mention that we can also say that's in the mix, and I really think this team really surpassed expectations. The Trailblazers.
Yeah.
The Trailblazers, I really believe that they could be in that mix in the Western Conference. So we have, you mentioned it, the Jazz, Clippers, Lakers, Nuggets, Warriors, the Spurs can even be in that. I missed Houston. Look at that already. That's 7 teams already. So that final spot, who can that be?
Well, in terms of the A spot, that could be a lot of teams. But if we want to focus on the Trailblazers are definitely going to be up there. Like, it's just so competitive how it is. Just like you wanted to break it down, the top teams, obviously Lakers, Clippers. So those, in my eyes, easily could be, in terms of talent-wise, you can say top 2. Might not be top 2 in terms of the records. I think the Lakers might struggle at first just because of chemistry issues. I don't expect them to get as many regular season wins as the Clippers would, because Clippers can do it on both ends of the ball, and it's been Laker fashion recently to just drop a few easy games and stuff. So in terms of how many wins they're going to rack up, I don't see Lakers being necessarily the 2 seed, but I do see them as the top 2 teams in the conference. Other than them,
wow,
Utah and Nuggets, they can rack up regular season wins. And where the Trailblazers fall, the Warriors, that's 5 already. Can they end up as low as 6? Possibly, but as you said, Damian Lillard just absolutely destroyed the Thunder last postseason in every way. Like, they would try to clown him on the road, and then, of course, he hit that big shot and waved him goodbye. This dude, Damian Lillard, proved he's one of the best point guards in the league, and he can deserve to be up there in the MVP conversation if he, plays at that level for a long time. If he played like he plays in the postseason, which he did in the regular season, just not that intense, he can definitely be up there for MVP conversation alongside with a good shooter like C.J. McCollum. McCollum's a good off the dribble as well. He can hit that mid-range shot. It's just a tough Western Conference. It'd be hard to place them in a certain spot, but they're always in the mix of that 4 to 6 range in terms of seeding goes. Just the Utah, they added Mike Conley, of course, a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who balls out. Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year. Joe Ingles, a great spot-up shooter. The Jazz are a dangerous team. You can look at the Nuggets to say Jokic, triple-double machine at the center spot. They're getting Michael Porter Jr., who looked pretty impressive for the first time. We're going to see him in the regular season. He's been injured the past 2 years. He's a great talent. Jamal Murray, of course. Gary Harris. These are really great teams we're talking about. And this is 6 of the 8 playoff spots. And not to mention the Rockets. That's 7, like you said. And then the Spurs. Spurs are always in there. And then the Pelicans. The Pelicans are a huge question mark. When it comes to all this young talent that they have, Zion, is Zion going to be Rookie of the Year? In my eyes, he will, because this dude is just so dominant when he gets inside. Jump out the gym. His finishing ability is very underrated. It's not that just the fact that he jumps up and he can get to the rim. He can actually finish. He can put some filet on some of his layups. He's got the jelly too. So it's a really young team. We'll see how they mesh together. There's just so much talent in this Western Conference and not enough playoff spots to go around.
Awesome. I just gotta say first, so you gotta stop with this food and talking about jelly and talking about filet right now. You're just making me hungry just talking and listening to you about this. But you know what else I'm hungry to hear about? You already started beating me to the punch, but what are gonna be your thoughts on Zion? Do you think, is this gonna be the player that's gonna carry them? Is this gonna be the player that's gonna replace Anthony Davis? How would you describe him as the Pelicans player?
So Zion Williamson, many people are fearful of the fact that he could be an injury waiting to happen. Like I said, he jumps out the gym, so the question is on those knees. If those knees can stay healthy, he doesn't injure himself. This dude is a once-in-a-generational talent. The pure athleticism and the strength as well. You're talking LeBron James athleticism here. Wow. And if he can develop a shot as well, we saw him hit a three-pointer in the preseason. We also saw him airball a three-pointer in the preseason. So he's got to get consistency behind there. But this dude is just so athletic to the point where he's definitely going to be an impact player. And I could see him being, like, if he has a really good season, I could see this dude being an all-star, to be honest. And that's a lot to say as a rookie. Being an all-star, he's already garnered so much attention going into the preseason since this dude was in high school. We saw him on Bleacher Report back when he was in high school, since he was a sophomore, jumping out the gym. He's always drawn crowds and fans, and that's what an all-star is. An all-star brings that level of attention and can back it up with the way they play, and he's always done that. At Duke, in high school, in the preseason right now, balling, averaging I think it was like 82% he's average shooting. Dropping 29 points, 26 points in the preseason with ease. If he definitely can stay healthy, this dude is the real deal.
You know what, Austin? I want to end the episode of Sideline Sports Podcast with this final question for all of you wondering out there. Now, you already talked about a little bit about the power rankings. Lakers or Clippers?
I'm definitely going Lakers. I think what I want to see is the Lakers-Clippers Western Conference Finals. It's going to be a showdown of the century to finally see these two teams both good at the same time. It's really going to be... It's going to come down to, honestly, whoever's healthy. If both these teams can stay healthy at best, I'm giving the Lakers because of the depth I talked about earlier. From top to bottom, the guys got guys like Avery Bradley as well, Danny Green. It's just a really talented team, top to bottom, and the star caliber players for both teams. The two best duos in the league, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and Anthony Davis and LeBron. That's just going to be a matchup that everyone is dying to see. I'm giving the Lakers the edge because at the end of the day, it's a Laker city. The Clipper fans gonna hate me for that, but it always has been. Even when Lob City was around, in terms of if the team was good, okay, the Clippers were better, obviously, but it was still a Laker city at heart, and it always will be. So in terms of what team's better, it's honestly, you can describe it in so many different ways. It's kind of a wash, but in terms of the passion that the fans are going to bring, it's just going to be a rivalry of the century, and it's happening in the same city, which is so dope to see. In our city, but I'm giving the Lakers the edge, which are they are my championship prediction as well.
Woo!
So,
you gotta like that.
Yeah.
Austin Duarte going all the way. Lakers championship team right out the get-go, right there, making a bundle of deals right there. You gotta appreciate the hot takes here in Sideline Sports Podcast. Again, that's why you guys gotta tune in to the episodes. You don't know what kind of takes we can have here in this one. But again, that's all the time we have left. At the website down below. Use the promo code Sideline10 to save yourself 10% off on all of your orders. Once again, I am Alexnavejasports. With me tonight was Austin Duarte. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We'll see you guys next week for Sideline Sports episode 10. We got a good one coming for you guys. So make sure, come back, hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. We'll see you guys next week.